So now we're at the hot topic, and we couldn't do this hot topic without bringing a special guest because we wanted to get the inside. And this young man is a certified orthopedic surgeon with OrthoAtlanta, none other than Dr. Donald E. Fowler. And Dr. Fowler, he is a team physician for the New York Mets, and because he's with OrthoAtlanta, they are team doctors for the Peach Bowl, Chick-fil-A game, BBT tennis tournament, and they also did the national championship game last year. So he's busy and he knows people. What's going on, Doc?
Hey, thanks for having me. Always good to talk sports on a Saturday. So.
Yes, sir. And we have a very interesting topic because lately, the last, I say what, 9 years, we've noticed an increase. Especially, I want to talk about the ACL injuries. And it seemed like ever since 2011, when the NFL decided to stop the two-a-days for training camp, we saw the injury pick up. It was more frequent. I don't know if that has something to do with it. You can answer that. But if so or if not, why are we seeing this more frequently?
Yeah, and I don't think there's any one answer, but there's probably a lot of things that go into it. I mean, first off, 30 years ago, someone hurts their knee, tell them to walk it off, put some ice on it. Nowadays, if someone gets hurt, they even start limping, what's the first thing you do? They're getting an MRI scan right off the bat. So I think you're getting things diagnosed a lot more frequently just with technology that's improved in the last, especially 5-10 years. I think there's more people playing sports. I do think fatigue plays a factor in some of these injuries, so cutting down on some of the practices like the two-a-days, like you said, it's almost kind of a catch-22 because you're trying to prevent injuries by limiting the amount of contact and things they're doing, but at the same time, they're not quite getting the same kind of conditioning. So that certainly can contribute as the muscles fatigue to kind of putting more stress on your joints and those ligaments. The other thing that I think is a big factor is, I mean, think about players today. They're bigger, they're faster, they're stronger. Your muscles you can always make bigger. Those ligaments, those tiny little ligaments inside your knee or your shoulder, your elbow, you can't make those bigger. So you're putting more force on them as these, people are colliding faster and harder and putting more force and stress through them. So there's only so much you can do to prevent that.
That's a good point right there. That's a very good point. They're getting bigger, muscles and things, but ligaments may not be getting bigger. Now with Carson Wentz, the Philadelphia Eagles quarterback, he tore his ACL in late November. Now he's playing. What do you think was the major change, and do you think players will return to form, or is that too early to really be coming back from an injury like that?
Yeah, it's hard to say. Obviously, I don't know about Carson Wentz specifically if he had anything else besides the ACL. Sometimes you see these injuries and it's not just the ACL. You got multiple ligaments. You got some meniscus or cartilage damage too. So that can kind of play a part in the rehab and how long it takes to get back. It used to be, I'd say on average, about a year or 12 months to get back. Now we're seeing a lot of guys getting back in that 6 to 8 month time frame, and I think a lot goes into that, a lot of therapy and rehab and kind of trying to push the limits within reason to try to get you back as healthy but as quickly as possible.
And once again, we're here live with Dr. Fowler, an orthopedic surgeon for OrthoAtlanta. We're here talking about injuries that happen in the sports world. And with the ACLs, like we mentioned and you talked about, because what he's talked about as far as Carson Wentz, I mean, Adrian Peterson is a freak of nature. I mean, we know that. I still never forget that time when he tore his ACL at the end of the year, and then before the season, you saw him running around in circles like 100 miles per hour. Like, how does he do this? T.O., I mean, T.O. didn't tear his ACL. It was
he had like a fractured leg
or
basically.
something.
He
Right.
just had a
Yeah.
broken leg.
Tibia, I think.
Yeah, he came back in
And he came
6
back.
weeks.
Yeah, so when you see,
Dominated.
so when you see things like that as a doctor, and this is what you do, are you amazed by it, or is it just, it depends on who the person is, or
I mean, usually guys like AP and whoever they are, I mean, you don't see harder working people in the sport. So it doesn't surprise me when people like that kind of maximize their potential, not only on the field, but with their rehab too. They put a lot of work and effort. I mean, they're still probably putting 12 hours a day immediately after surgery into their rehab and doing everything to like I said, get the swelling down, start building the strength back, and being ready to go as quickly as possible. So, I mean, I think it's amazing overall, but it doesn't surprise me when these athletes who are just genetic freaks sometimes can make it happen faster than, your average Joe. So,
and it's not like, so if you're treating them as, do you look at them and say, wow, or is it just?
I mean, in a way, you're always. I mean, I'm always amazed and impressed what the human body can do and accomplish, and what people can overcome. So,
All right. Next question I had, also, let's talk about the Tommy John surgery. This is a major surgery. This is becoming popular in baseball. I remember first hearing it and people were questioning, what is this? Is this going to mess you up? But now, like I said, we see it more often, especially with pitchers. How does this affect the pitcher and their future?
yeah, it's definitely concerning. Obviously, that's probably one of the surgeries that's increased the most over the last 5 to 10 years. It's almost kind of for pitchers now. It's almost seems like a rite of passage. It's not if you've had it; it's when you've had it. And we can get back to it later. I think one of the biggest problems is, and something that I'm a champion of, is youth sports and the issue of kind of doing year-round sports at too young of an age. You're getting these 7, 8, 9-year-olds who are playing baseball all year round. That's all they're doing. They're not, diversifying and doing basketball and soccer, football, and all these other sports where you give certain other parts of your body a chance to rest. It actually makes you a better athlete doing that. But these kids, their growth plates aren't mature, their tendons aren't strong, and so if you start trying to act like a Major League Baseball player when you're a teenager, you're gonna get these overuse injuries. And the Tommy John, which is the ligament on the inside of your elbow, is kind of the most common one, with the amount of stress that gets put when that pitcher comes through with their arm torquing that elbow. It gradually frays and wears and tears, and then you end up having to have a surgery. And the surgery is no longer a death sentence, which is great. You see all these pitchers coming back. Usually you do lose a couple miles per hour velocity, at least the first couple years, and pitchers work better on their location and their spin and curve and things like that. But it still does take an effect on, I think, their longevity and their success.
It's a good point with the kids. Like you said, you're a high school player or you're young and you're playing baseball all year round, trying to throw like a major leaguer. You're in 10th grade and you're trying to throw 103 miles an hour. Like kind of wait. Like it'll get there. It'll get there. So that's definitely a good point. Now speaking with that, we got the Angel pitcher Shohei Ohtani. He has a major decision to make. I mean, he's a great hitter, but he's also a great pitcher. And he needs a Tommy John surgery. Do you think this will affect his hitting in the future?
Yeah, I don't. And I don't know when the last time we've seen someone that dynamic on, I guess, both sides of the ball, at least pitching and hitting. But I don't think it would really affect his hitting as much, and that's why they're talking about obviously continuing to let him DH and bat and everything like that. It really is kind of the pitching and the throwing that's going to be affected. And you see other treatment modalities out there. You've probably read or heard about PRP and stem cells, and those are kind of injections that we'll sometimes do to try to help the ligament heal naturally on its own and maybe avoid surgery. And there has been some success with that, not obviously 100%. So sometimes that's a consideration in some of these athletes. If they're not trying to jump to surgery right away, they'll do some of these kind of, biologic type injections to try to stimulate growth factors and healing and see if that's enough. But
Yeah, and I guess with that decision, because like you stated, he's a beast, and the fact that he that's a hard decision, man. It's like you said, because if he's that good pitching, we know he can hit, and it's not going to affect his hitting then. But if you take 2 miles per hour off your fastball, is it worth it? Do you think his stock would drop?
I think it depends on what you already are. I mean, if you're throwing 100 miles an hour, you go down to 97. Like, really, dude? Like,
Yeah, like
you know what I mean? Like, that's not. You still throwing the ball
Right.
almost 100 miles an hour. You know what I'm saying? But like 91 to 89, that's a different kind of drop, right? You know what I mean? So I think that's when it would be more of a bigger decision. I think with him, because I mean, of course, I'm not a doc. If he can have the surgery, and even after the surgery, when the season starts, can still hit, but not maybe of course pitch, which is putting strain on the elbow and everything, then. I mean, why not? He hit 22
Right.
home runs in like part-time DH.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, no, you're right. And I want to ask Doc this also. With the Braves, I know you cover the Mets, but is this like say if you went to cover the Braves, is this something that you can do that will help them get runs? Like what can you? Because they need help, man.
I guess maybe like tackle Clayton Kershaw and injure him so he can't pitch again. But in Game 5, I guess if they get to Game 5,
and of course he works with athletes, but he is a fan also. So let me ask you, right now. Last week we had a discussion. We were talking about, is Atlanta a sports town? Right now, with the Braves, they're in the playoffs. They're not doing well, but they're in the playoffs. Atlanta United have the best team in MLS. We won't say anything about the Falcons, but they're injured. They're going through right now. The Hawks are rebuilding, and the fact that they have now excitement with Trae Young and all. If Georgia Tech and they get away from the triple option, they could be great. When you look at this, do you think Atlanta's a sports town, or is it transcending into a sports town now?
I mean, I'm not from Atlanta, but in the, I guess, 4 years I lived here and really experienced it, I mean, I personally see Atlanta as a sports town. I mean, maybe it doesn't get quite the same play or press as like a New York or Boston or LA, but I mean, I think it's kind of right there on the cusp. I think the Braves probably carried them for a long time, especially back through their, whatever it was, 14 pennants or in a row, however many it was. But since then, I think all the other sports have built. I know we lost hockey, but soccer has been incredible here. So that with, the Falcons going to the Super Bowl, and hopefully they're going to put it all together eventually. I mean, I definitely look at Atlanta as a sports town, especially down in the South, where you don't have, I don't think a lot of other big cities like that to really showcase or market sports, like I see here.
Quickly, who is your favorite? Do you have a team in Atlanta, or I know you're not from here, but is it a team that you follow more so than others? With other Atlanta teams?
Other Atlanta teams?
Yeah, between Atlanta teams.
I mean, probably baseball days, so probably the Braves. We have our office. One of our offices over right there at the Battery, right outside the ballpark. So I'm over there 24/7, and so with that and covering the Mets, I get to as many games as I can. So I think it's always great following them, and hopefully they're going to turn it around here over the next few days.
All right. Well, there you have it, Dr. Fowler. We appreciate you for coming on. This is, once again, he is a certified orthopedic surgeon with OrthoAtlanta. You got to come back, man.
Anytime. Love
not
it.
your first
Thank
time.
you so much for having me.
No problem. You know, it's injuries all the time, so we definitely got to bring you back.